What's up, YouTube? Um, how's everybody doing? I'm getting on here realizing, and again, I already know. We all know. If you follow me, you already know how long it is when I post. That being said, I'm pretty sure it's been like 4 years. Um, so, update. A lot. This regime is crazy. It's scary as fuck. I live in Iowa, one of the first states at this point to remove, actually, the first state in the nation to remove civil rights protections from trans people, or as they would like to say, they removed gender identity from the civil rights. But it's the same thing. They removed civil. I guess it's not really the same thing, right? Because if they're rights, then the people can't take them away from you. That being said, they removed civil right protections from trans people, first state in the nation to do so. Let's see, I turned 50 this year, so half a century old. Um, let's see, I have changed jobs quite a few times, actually. And I went from running a department in one, well, I went to doing a lot of things, but recently I am running a department or a program. And I don't even know how I ended up on YouTube, to be very honest. I was messing around because for the most part, I'm on TikTok. Uh, and I don't really do that. Don't be upset because I don't really do that often either. I think I maybe have posted 5 videos in the last 2 years. I used to be pretty active on there. Ooh, I got a bump on mine. I used to be pretty active on there. However, with everything going on, to be very honest, it's overwhelming. It's extremely overwhelming. And so I just haven't been posting a lot about a lot of anything. But to my original social media audience and to the people who have supported me and who watch me, and especially when I was just getting into social media and you guys were there. My first 100 followers were here on YouTube, and so I really just appreciate you. And so every now and then I want to pop in. Not that you really are all that interested, but I know when I follow people on YouTube and everything, when they don't post for a while and then they pop back in, it's good to see what they're doing, what they look like, how they've been, particularly what they look like on this page, on this channel, what they've been up to, how their lives are going. Um, you may remember I had a little daughter the last time we talked, really, and she graduated from high school. So I got all of my kids got back together for the first time in 11 years. It's the first time they've all been together. Um, Sorry, I'm kind of at work. That was a quick pause, but I'm kind of at work. I'm covering a shift for one of my staff members. Anyway, basically, I feel like I owe you guys to at least pop in every now and then and not pretend like this isn't my original baby, this channel. Um, yeah, I guess what to talk about the most now is things are scary. Things are scary, and while we're talking about it, let's talk about the privilege that some of us have. Um, I'm going to be cutting in and out here. The privilege that some of us have is what I was talking about. As things get worse and worse, I recognize my privilege more and more. The privilege I have to walk around like this. The privilege I have to, I guess, be considered passing, which I disagree with. I don't like that term. I don't want to be a cisgender dude. I never would. That's why women chose the bear. And the more I look like this, the more I realize that I'm really, one of my privileges is that I'm not. And it really is my socialization, my upbringing, or not upbringing, but my socialization while I was growing up and being in this world, recognized one way and the other. I now realize more than ever what a privilege it is. What a privilege I hold. Um, I am not stealth. I probably should be, but I feel like I owe it to the people who can't hide behind people's preconceived notions of what trans people look like. I can't. I can't be stealth, and I feel like that leaves them out to dry, right? I feel like that hangs them out to dry, because I am hiding behind a binary. So, if I did that, that's my personal opinion. Anybody needs to do whatever they need to do to feel safe and to have the quality of life that they absolutely deserve. There is no judgment, there is no hard feelings, there is nothing if you are stealth. And that is your protection. Good for you. I hope you stay safe. For me personally, that's how I feel, so I can't. So even though I don't walk around with the sign that says, hey, I'm trans, I don't, there's nothing to say about it if anybody knows, or like in my last job where they found my video, the lady got fired too. Oh, that's a good story. But we'll go back to that. That's at my last job. So, and I'm out. Like if you Google my name, I'm there in everything that I do. I'm very transparent. And I feel like that is my duty. That is my protest. Is to not go into hiding for me. Because there's some people who can't, right? But the story of the last place I worked. So before I worked here, I basically did what I do now. I just did it in another city. And one of my coworkers once was very upset over a lot of things, I think. I think she was upset that I got hired for the job. I think she was upset that I got hired at a higher position than she did. Regardless of the fact that I had the skills, the experience, the background, and education to be in my position, and she had none of those things, she felt, and I really truly feel in my heart, that because she was a white lady and I was a black guy, and plus I've talked to her, so trust me when I tell you race is definitely on the table, that because of that she was owed the same position that I got hired for. It's whatever. Anyway, so she found she I guess did some snooping or whatever, and she found my page, and which again, it's been 4 years since I posted on it. At that time it had been probably a year, and so you really had to, it's not like it just popped up, right? So then she went around, and I guess thinking she was telling a big secret, she went and told like everybody that I worked with that I was trans, including going over to my staff and saying things like, did you know who you were working for? It's whatever. That being said, I didn't know that at the time. I'm really oblivious when it comes to outside issues and people. I just don't really pay much attention to them because, to be very honest, it's most of the time just a distraction. However, and this is a good story, right? Oh, I wish I had it. I'm pretty sure I printed it out at some point, and I will find it. And 5 years from now, I will come back to you guys and tell you what I found. But I printed it off at one point. It is an email from a person who quit. So she was an asshole all the way around. And she had somebody who worked for her, one staff member, and they quit. And when they quit in spectacular fashion. They quit by sending out an entire email to the entire leadership team, basically outing her in all of her ugliness and all of her dirt that she was doing. Well, my boss, we used to ride into work together. We used to commute together. And so my boss, so it happened like on a day we had a meeting. So we had a staff meeting. I signed off. After my meetings, most of the time I'm exhausted, so I'm done. So I signed off, signed out, and went home. And then the next day, she said, did you check your email? And I was like, nah, I didn't check it. And she said, oh, you should check it. You should look at it. So I'm in the car and I'm trying to find it. I'm looking and I can't find it. And she said, so-and-so quit. And when he did, he sent out an email. So now I'm really looking, right? So I look and I find it. And so I read it, and it said something. I don't remember what the first sentence was or the second sentence, but the third sentence was, Pasha, I think you're cool, and however you choose to live your life is cool with me. I want you to know, however, that so and so, talking about her, we'll just call her Karen. So he said, so Karen, however, has a problem with it. And she was very quick to show me your channel and something, something, whatever it said. So up until this point, she had been a thorn in my side. Not that I paid much attention to her, but she was constantly pushing boundaries that I had to constantly stop her or push back on, especially when it came to my staff. And so when I'm reading this, I'm like, oh shit. Literally, that's exactly, I was like, oh shit. And then my boss, who I don't know whether or not she knew I was trans, to be very honest. I never ask anybody. I assume, because if I hired somebody to work for me, I would look them up. Like, I would at least look up, like, Google. And if you Google me, all my stuff comes up. It's not even a secret. So, I didn't know if she knew. I didn't know if she knew I was trans or not. It wasn't my business. I didn't care. However, when I read that, I said, hey, this is a big deal. And she was like, yeah, I know, it's crazy. I said, no. I don't think you quite understand. I said, this is a big deal. Like, she's going to get fired for this. And she was like, oh, or you think so? Da-da-da. And I was like, trust me, she is going to get fired for this. So then that day we get to work, and I was leadership, but not executive leadership. Executive leadership was the CEO, my boss, and two other people, the vice president of the organization I worked for, and one other person. And I think the executive assistant was there. They have this meeting, right? And so after the meeting, my CEO calls me and is like, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I was like, cool. So we go in, we talk, and I have this very open, honest conversation with her, to be very honest. By the way, she is the coolest. I don't even know if I should say her name here. I want to, just because I want to give her shout outs, because when I tell you, she was one of the best bosses I've ever had, and I really miss her still to this day. But we talk and we have a really honest conversation, and she's like, well, what do you want to do? Basically, she gives me a choice. And I'm like, well, let me have the weekend to think it over, you know? And as I'm sitting here and as I'm thinking and da-da-da, I was like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and cut this, right? Because I am a very empathetic person. I don't want to ruin anybody's livelihood, anybody's career, anything like that. That being said, what I thought was, at the time I had a trans staff member who was literally going through their transition in the company. Came to us, said, hey, I've changed my name. Hey, I'm starting HRT. Started growing their hair out. It was a trans woman. And so all I could think is, if I allow this to continue, if I don't say anything, not only will she not feel like there are any consequences for this, but I send her out into the world to do this to other trans people. And so when I talked on Monday, we decided that was going to be it, and she was gone by the end of the day. In fact, I think that they had told her not to come in this was on a Thursday. Wednesday, yeah, that's right. Wednesday, it happened after the meeting. Thursday is when all of this happened. For Thursday afternoon is when we talked, and then that's when she said have the weekend. So on Monday, I went and talked to her, and that's what happened. She was fired. She unfortunately got picked up after a while by another agency, because we're really interconnected. So I through the grapevine, she got picked up by another agency in the same city. That being said, she wasn't in ours anymore, and it was just that quick. So that was a little wild thing, and it was really the only real thing that I have had happen about anything to do with HRT or me being trans or any of that. But it was incredibly interesting, and when I find that letter, I'm going to read it to you guys, because it was spectacular. You've heard of people quitting in spectacular fashion. That was A1. Let's go. That being said, though, that is really the only big thing. But just that little incident and everything else, I can't imagine what people who do not walk around and look like people expect binary people to look. And what's happening with them, particularly in Iowa right now, across the regime, but in Iowa, they're literally, this is the third time they've tried to do this. Now, mind you, in about probably a month, maybe two, it's going to be struck down by a judge somewhere as unconstitutional. That is really, I don't doubt it at all. Just like food stamps that they tried to do, just like when they tried to do something else, it all keeps getting struck down. Kim Reynolds is getting struck down as much as freaking Trump is in the courts. But people have to live with it right now, and it's scary, and it's unfortunate, and it shouldn't be. But that's just the world we live in, yes? So, either way, I just really wanted to get on here and tell you guys that I am more than aware of what the hell is going on. I'm living in a state where this dystopian ass nightmare is a reality constantly, day to day, and we just look out for each other, yeah, especially trans women. If you're a trans guy and you follow me, particularly because you're a trans guy, please look out for our trans women. Please, take care of them. Don't let people shit on them. You know what I mean? If you happen to, especially if you look and you have this going on, don't sit in a room with a bunch of people dogging trans women and let it go. Like, even if they don't know you're trans, stick up. It may even make it more. Part of the reason, to be very honest, that I'm not as flag flying, even though I'm not covert at all, but even though I'm not as flag flying as I used to be, is I find that looking like this, being who I am, gives me more traction when I am in conversations with people when it has to do with trans people, particularly trans women. Because they don't see me as sticking up for my own. They just see me as a person who has a lot of information about trans people to correct the misinformation. And so I find that this gives me a superpower of kind of being a fly on the wall. And just like I tell people to use their whiteness to advance the cause and to help out those who don't have that privilege, I use this privilege to help out my people. And if you can, please do, right? Speak loudly even if your voice shakes. Take care of each other, love each other. If you watch me and because you have a trans person that you love, please take care of them. Please look out for them. Please give them hugs. And that's the real one. Give them hugs and tell them things are going to be okay. And they will. It's hard now, but it will be okay. But right now, it's scary time. And your people need that. And for people who are trans, your trans brothers and sisters need you. We need that interconnection. We need to know that we are not alone. We need that to understand that, to stand up and support each other through this trying time in history. And we will come out on the other side of this, okay? Not all of us. Not all of us. But as a whole, yes, we will. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it there. I love you guys. Take care of each other. Be safe.